And Sturgis police released crime statistics for the first day of the 85th annual Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. Crime is down overall compared to last year's first day. Yesterday, police responded to 1 call for theft, 1 call for fighting, and 5 calls for an unwanted or intoxicated person. 13 drug or paraphernalia arrests took place. 5 of those were felony arrests. 8 people were arrested for driving under the influence. Sturgis Police Chief Jody Van Water said these numbers are fairly low, and he's hoping the rally remains relatively peaceful and crime-free throughout the rest of the week. Van Water mentioned he expects this rally to have a higher than typical attendance.
On my way into work this morning, there was traffic. There's motorcycles, cars, campers. People are coming into town in droves. The main arteries are backed up, and that's a good sign that it's going to be a big rally.
Sturgis Police will continue to release daily crime statistics throughout the rally.